Hello and welcome to Falcon Blues TV. I'm Callum Davies, back with another match preview for this week's game where Everton are going to be travelling to Arsenal. It's another Friday night match, Friday the 23rd of April, and it's going to be an 8 PM kickoff. Before we get into the video, if you wouldn't mind going down, liking and subscribing, we'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So last time out, Everton recorded another draw against Spurs. I actually thought we played really well in this game, which makes a nice change from our usual home form where we're pretty blunt in attack. We don't really control the game or create much. I think this is one of the few times this season where I'd say we've controlled the match and been the better side, obviously since October time when we'd won the league. I thought we created lots of chances, we dictated the tempo, we had most of the ball, and it was just good to see against a side that obviously aren't in form for their standards, but are still a good side. They've still got good players like Harry Kane, Son, and the rest of them. So I thought it was a good result. Obviously, it turned out to be Mourinho's last game because he's just been sacked amidst all this Super League rubbish, which I'm going to try and stay away from in this video. So, as I said, I thought we played well. Couple of stupid defensive mistakes. Keane and Holgate, the Chuckle brothers, making both times just simple errors, which resulted in us conceding. Because if you give a player like Harry Kane two chances, he's going to score them both. So it's annoying, but I thought our overall play was great, and that's what I'm happy to see from. Considering if you look back on what our home form and our home performances have been like, I'm just happy to see a good performance. Obviously, the result isn't exactly what we wanted, but it's something that we can build on, and hopefully we can build on it in this game. Arsenal, on the other hand, they also drew, but it was against basically relegated Fulham. I'm not saying anything against Fulham because we got beat by them early in the season, but they were just so poor in that game that I watched them in Arsenal. Took them until the 95th minute to equalise. Eddie Nketiah scored for them, but he only came on because their striker Lacazette, who's been in good form, admittedly, in recent weeks, is injured, so he'll be a big blow for them. But they go into this on similar form to us again. Not great. They obviously sit 9th in the table below us, but I think they're just 3 points behind us after that draw. We obviously have the game in hand, which everyone talks about every week, but whether it'll ever get played is another thing. So obviously there's that. But if you look at it and you just think of the previous games that we've played against Arsenal in the past, games where I usually think we get quite good results. Obviously, we've been on the end of a few whack-ins, but I think for the most part, we tend to get quite good results against Arsenal, and that's because I feel like they have quite a soft underbelly as a club, and they have done throughout all Wenger. Obviously, before once Vieira left, that's the thing that they struggled with a lot. If you got stuck into them, you kicked them, you normally would end up with a good result. And I think that partnered with the Everton ethos that under David Moyes, which was just try your hardest, get stuck in, and we'll see what comes out. I thought it benefited us a lot, and it's benefited us in recent years because we've got a few good results. I think, again, this could be another time where we could end up with a good result by doing just that, just going in and performing like we did against Spurs, where we pressed them hard, when we, at the right times, we kicked them in the midfield with Davies and Allen, and then we just let the silky players, Sigurdsson, who was brilliant, by the way, against Spurs, James, who's also very good, just do their thing, and then supply Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. Now, this season, Arsenal have already lost 3 times to Merseyside clubs, obviously to us once, and Liverpool twice. I think the last time, I was doing a little bit of stat finding, I think it was the last time that Arsenal lost all 4 games in a season to the Merseyside clubs was 1965-66 season. So that's a bit of scope for a bit of history that could be made. But obviously I think it was since 1995 where we last beat them away from home at all. We always struggle against the rich 6 clubs. We always have done in recent years, and we're kind of pushing away from that. The win at Anfield, the win against Spurs away from home. So We seem to be pushing away from that a little bit of change in mentality, but obviously this will be a big step forward for us, I think, in terms of league position and mentality shift over them. So as I said, we haven't beat them away since 1995. We haven't done the double over them since 1985-86 season, and obviously this win would mean that, because we beat them 2-1 earlier in the season at Goodison, and that was a performance I thought which was quite gritty. We didn't really play that well considering we were on. That was amongst those 3 good results against Chelsea, Leicester and Arsenal. It was a gritty performance. We worked hard and we came out with a good result. Now our away form, as gets mentioned every week, has been good this season. It's been very good this season, and Arsenal in their last 4 games are winless. So I'd say that us going into this game with our away form, you would favour us, and obviously we beat them in the reverse fixture. We're slightly above them in the league, but neither side are really in great form. It will make for quite an interesting game, I think, especially if Ancelotti wants us to press and go for it like he did against Spurs. I hope he doesn't change the mentality and shift us back to defend a little bit and hit on the break, because I think if you go for a team like Arsenal, who are there for the taking, you will get a good result, I think, unless they just have one of those days. But why can't we just have one of those days? Obviously, we have a few players who could be returning from injury. I think Ancelotti said Gomez, Calvert-Lewin and Yerry Mina could be back. He's hopeful that they'll be back. Calvert-Lewin's been out for a little while, as has Gomez, with minor injuries. So I'd assume that them 2 would definitely be back. Mina, obviously, who's been injured for quite a bit now, after like a week or 2, he'd be a big 112 back, I think, because in recent weeks it's shown me that Keane and Holgate, they aren't really up to the standard. I think Mina is probably one of our best centre-backs, obviously alongside Godfrey. But Arsenal, on the other hand, have a number of injuries, I think, or doubtful players at very least. David Luiz and Kieran Tierney are both 100% out. David Luiz, not so much of a big miss, but obviously they've got a bit of a left-back issue at the moment. No fit left-backs. They had Xhaka playing there against Fulham. Odegaard, who I think has been all right since he came in on loan from Real Madrid, is doubtful, but could play with an ankle injury. And Lacazette, as I said, went off injured in the Fulham game. He'll be a big miss, and they'll probably mean that they'll have to shift him around, maybe see if Willian will start, which he always seemed to do well against us when he played for Chelsea, but he's not really the greatest player anymore. He's obviously getting on a bit now. And an interesting one is Aubameyang, who I think when he was away with international duty has contracted malaria, I read somewhere. So I don't think he'll be fit. You'd assume not. Player with malaria, he'll probably just be getting better from that. So you'd expect him to be out. So they have, as well as having a left back problem, they've also got a striker problem. I think it does favour us, this fixture, and I do believe that we're going to get a result in this game. Now, I think with Calvert-Lewin potentially being fit, Ancelotti change from the 5 or 3 at the back that he's been playing recently and go back to the 4 at the back, because that would obviously facilitate an extra attacker. He can't really drop Sigurdsson after his performance against Spurs, whereas he probably would have to, because he played in the front 3, coming in off the left, with James coming in off the right, and they kind of floated around with Richarlison up front. Richarlison would naturally move to that left position with Calvert-Lewin going up front. And like I said, you can't drop Sigurdsson. He was brilliant in that game, worked hard, scored a penalty and scored a brilliant goal with his weaker left foot to put us ahead in that game. So I do think he'll go to the 4 at the back. Pickford will start, and you'd hope Coleman will play right back. But if not, obviously you'll see Holgate there. Dean will be left back. And then if Mina's fit, I would like to see him partnered with Godfrey, because that's a partnership that we've not really seen yet this season. I imagine it would more likely to be Keane and Godfrey, or Keane and Mina, with Godfrey playing right back. But personally, I'd like to see Mina and Godfrey, just see what they're like. The holding midfielders will therefore probably be Alan and Davies, who very hard work in midfield. Not going to get a great deal of flash from them, but they'll definitely do a job, and they facilitate these 4 attackers in front of them, which will be Richarlison, Sigurdsson, James and Calvert-Lewin at the tip. Now that is a front four that can really damage what I think is a poor Arsenal defence. Now, Leno was benched for the Fulham game. I'm not really sure why, because he was obviously fit if he was on the bench, and they started Ryan, who's on loan from Brighton, so either of them could really start. That left-back position, Xhaka could play there again, or they'll stick Cedric in there, who is naturally right-footed, so that's definitely a position where we can get at. It's a shame we've not really got that much pace to attack the right-hand side. And then you'd imagine Rob Holding and that Gabriel will play centre-backs with Bellerin at right-back. That leaves the midfield being Ceballos and probably Partey, I'd say, will come in. But El Neni did play against Fulham, so it'll probably be one of them too. And then with the Lacazette injury, I think he will move Martinelli up front and bring Willian in on the left, with Smith Rowe in behind the striker and Saka out wide. And obviously they do have a decent bit of youth attacking prospect. They've got Saka and Smith Rowe, who I think are good up-and-coming English talents. Martinelli is decent, but I think he's a bit lightweight at the moment, similar to like Calvert-Lewin when he was before he bulked up, and Fabio Silva now. They're obviously technically good footballers, but they're just not quite up to the speed and the strength of the Premier League. I'm sure he'll get there eventually, but I don't see him causing us that many issues with the likes of Mina or Keane and the physicality of Godfrey playing. And as I said before, Willian on his day can cause issues, but his day seems to be long gone now. So I think the main one to look out for is Saka, who's obviously been good this season and really put himself out there. So if we were to get a result, I think the only place that we can move up to is 7th above Spurs. We did miss an opportunity without not winning that Spurs game, because as I said, we were by far the better side, I thought. And this is an important game to stop Arsenal gaining on us. We have the likes of Leeds and Villa breathing down our necks. We kind of need to get a result in this game, a win in this game, to push them away from us and solidify ourselves as 3rd, would it be, when all the top 6 clubs get booted out? So Champions League football. Now, as I said, they're only 3 points behind us, so if they were to beat us, they would go above us, I think, on goal difference, because our goal difference has been pretty woeful all season. And obviously with Liverpool drawing against Leeds on the Monday, we'd only be a point behind Liverpool with that game in hand. So it's a hugely important game for both sides, really, because if we lose, then we have everyone breathing down our neck again, and suddenly 8th turns into 11th. And I feel like obviously we've been patchy this season, but it's not been an 11th placed finish season. We need to win this game and mark ourselves as wanting to challenge for the top 7, top 6. And I think we definitely can. As I said, Arsenal, I think if you just get stuck into them, we have the quality up front to cause them all sorts of issues. And despite how poor we've been recently, the opportunity is still there. Everyone else is just as bad as we are, luckily. Obviously, Liverpool seem to be picking up form, but they're bound to drop points, as are Spurs and as are every other club around that general area. It's there to be taken, and I think we will against Arsenal. My prediction would probably be a 2-1 or a 3-1 win, but I definitely think that we're going to win this game. And I'll make myself look like an idiot when we don't. But I just feel like this is one of those games where we do pull it out the bag. And we kind of have to if we do want Europe the traditional way, without all this Super League rubbish. But as I said, don't want to get into that. I'll just end up going off on a big rant and boring everyone. So you can let us know in the comments down below what you think the score's going to be and how you think the game's going to go. And I will see you in the next video. Up the Toffees.